I'm going to be a little all over the place. I'm giving all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Mekakwadash, Tawadiah Ba'ashem Yahushua for the prophets of old. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, bishops as well. 250 years. 250 years, Babylon the Great. And our people want to be here. They like it here. You know, they celebrate it. They let off all the fireworks they can afford to let off. The book of Numbers, chapter 14, verse 1. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried. And the people wept that night. They wept. They literally cried. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron. And the whole congregation said unto them, would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in this wilderness? So the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they didn't mind being in bondage, all right, when they thought of what they were missing. Right? They didn't mind being in bondage after they so-called were free to worship the Heavenly Father, right? Free to be their own people. They wanted to be. They wanted integration. They didn't want segregation. Verse 3. And wherefore hath the Lord Yahweh brought us into this land, to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey. Were it not better for us to return into Egypt? Now Moses had slew an Egyptian, all right, for attacking an Israelite, and then he fled Egypt. Now you can't slay these spiritual Egyptians for attacking a child of Israel, but they still do. So there's nothing new under the sun. The ancient Egyptians were attacking the Israelites, and the spiritual Egyptians is a spiritual Egypt, spiritual Sodom. Revelation came to mind. But Egypt is the house of bondage, Exodus chapter 20. Verse 4. And they said one to another, let us make us a captain, and let us return to Egypt. So they wanted to go back.
I'm ticked that the Democratic Party in particular have been using this black motivated black constitutional amendment for black Americans in the benefit of all others.
I don't typically agree with Stephen Miller on much, but I think he's correct here. And Ellie and I have debated this several times on air. Obviously, I respect his legal acumen, but philosophically, I fundamentally disagree with the court on this. To me, I go back to subject to the jurisdiction of, going back to the original intent of the 1866 Civil Rights Act for the 14th Amendment being passed. What was it to address? What was it to codify? It was freed slaves who did not have citizenship. It wasn't free slaves and any and everybody else across the globe. Of the 27 EU countries, none of the civilized Western countries allow and permit unconditional immigration. None of the Western countries allow it, with the exception of the United States and Canada. Now, that is not to say that we should not have an immigration policy where we welcome people. I think we absolutely should. It's made our country very strong. But does it mean we should allow anyone to just come into the country, merely have a child, and that child be granted citizenship? I would say not. And in fact, Democrats actually believe the same thing. You go back to 1993 when Harry Reid introduced the Immigration Stabilization Act. His argument at the time was, you're allowing people to take advantage of our country. Senator Dianne Feinstein agreed at the time. Several other Democrats agreed at the time. So once upon a time, there was bipartisan support that this is a problem that should be addressed by Congress. Now, I would agree that the executive branch shouldn't have carte blanche authority to just do whatever he or she will. At some point, we have a woman president. I would agree there should be limitations. But Congress needs to act on this by passing an amendment. Again, I disagree with interpretation by the court.
So Michael Singleton, friend of the show, he's been a guest on the show. We've had conversations.
So Esau just did all that talking without breathing, and I just saw it on the Roku TV. It does. The chariot looked like it beamed somebody up, and then it looks like another one comes out over the clock, and then makes the clock change. But Esau just did all that fast talking without even breathing, and none of what he said makes our life any better. But people still want to stay in this place. They want to stay. They like it here. They like it here. Numbers chapter 14, verse 4. And they said one to another, let us make a captain and let us return into Egypt. Verse 1, they was crying. Lifted up their voice and cried. Exodus chapter 20, verse 1. And Yahweh spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. All right, but the people was crying to go back to Egypt, and Egypt was full of false gods. How many gods were in ancient Egypt? Just like in America, you could have ancient Egyptians worshipped over 1,500 named deities, though historians estimate they recognize over 2,000 throughout their 3,000-year civilization. So when it's all said and done, they was out of control. Right, our peoples was out of control for one to go. How many, wait a minute, what was the question? How many gods are in America? There is no single number for the gods in America, as deities depend on specific religious traditions and cultural definitions. However, sociologists I don't know how Esau said, sociologists estimate that the vast majority of Americans, about 92%, believe in God. In terms of conceptions of this deity, researchers at Baylor University found that Americans generally worship 4 different versions of God: the authoritative, benevolent, critical, and distant God. All right, so there's four gods in Babylon the Great. Some authoritative ones, some benevolent ones, some critical, and some distant God. We're looking at the exact number of gods worshipped within different religions practiced in the United States. The count varies dramatically, and that's a problem. That's a problem. Our people always want to be where you got 1,000, 15,000 gods, and you can do whatever the hell you want to do, because there's a God that says you can. So, wait a minute. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 16, verse 1. The word of the Lord Yahweh came also unto me, saying, Thou shalt not take thee a wife, neither shalt thou have sons or daughters in this place. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh concerning the sons and concerning the daughters that are born in this place, and concerning their mothers that bear them, and concerning their fathers that begat them in this land, they shall die of grievous deaths. They shall not be lamented, neither shall they be buried, but they shall be as dung upon the face of the earth, and they shall be consumed by the sword, and by famine, and their carcasses shall be meat for the fowls of heaven and for the beasts of the earth. For thus saith the Lord. See, the people don't understand. The Heavenly Father gonna give you what you want. You wanna be with his. Nobody even knows how many gods there is to worship, and Google can't even tell you how many gods there are. It just says 4 main ones and a plethora of individualistic ideas. Matter of fact, what's this? What's this? Where is it at?
To them.
It's not.
Fair use on the black dude. All right, there's no such thing as black, but he identifies. He says he's black.
I'm Dave Reaver. For the next hour, we're going to be presenting to you on video some of the most bizarre and unbelievable things that we have ever presented through television efforts. In my lifetime, I've known some war, and in my lifetime, I have seen some of the bizarre. I've known suffering, but I've never known of the bizarre. I've never known of suffering like you're going to hear about in this video. And I certainly promise you this, it is war. I also think you should know that we accept responsibility for saying up front that what you're going to see and hear is terrifying. I do not want to be responsible for allowing children in the room who are not prepared for this. Parents, please pay careful attention and do as I ask. Please don't allow children to watch this video alone. Today, we are compelled to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God.
I've been out now for 14 years. I've only been able to laugh, and this is a serious statement. I've only been able to laugh out loud for about 10 years now.
As people remember these experiences, they gag, they are nauseous, their entire body remembers what it was like to be there.
The truth lie with Satan. Drawings by former Satanist victims. Alright, so our peoples want to vote for a place, and people run by this man, Esau Edom himself, former high priest of Satan. 250 years of this. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 5. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh, enter not into the house of mourning, neither go to lament, nor bemoan them. For I have taken away my peace from this people, saith the Lord Yahweh, even loving kindness and mercy. And we're coming into dark days. The Heavenly Father is going to take away his peace from the children of Israel like never before. You see with the whole immigration crisis, matter of fact, 10,000 people in 48 hours. Detained in 48 hours. Visas about to expire for Haiti. Immigration and Custom Enforcement, ICE, detained more than 10,000 immigrants over a 5-day period, averaging about 2,000 apprehensions a day. 1 hour ago, ICE arrested 10,000 people across the U.S. in 5 days span. But people want to stay here. People want to celebrate this. Let me see. Haitian, all these places gotta hurry up and get the hell up out of here. Visas running out, but only the Israelites though. For which countries in America? I know I'm not typing this in right. The U.S. State Department has indefinitely suspended the processing of immigrant visas, permanent residency green cards for citizens of 75 countries. Right. The indefinite pause impacts 75 nations across Africa, the Middle East, the Americas, that's South and Central, Europe, and Asia, including countries like Brazil, Nigeria, Pakistan, Iran, and Colombia. Countries with complete entry bans, a separate narrow subset of 19 countries. All right, but they're rounding up the Israelites, though. They're not rounding up all of these other nations. They're not rounding up people from Afghanistan. They're rounding up Haiti. They're not rounding up people from Iran, Libya, Syria, and Yemen. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 6. Both the great and the small shall die in this land. They shall not be buried, neither shall men lament for them, nor cut themselves, nor make themselves bald for them. Neither shall men tear themselves from them in mourning, to comfort them for the dead. Neither shall men give them the cup of consolation to drink for their father or for their mother. It's not going to be no mercy. People's mothers and fathers going to die. Nobody's going to give a damn. Nobody's going to show no sympathy, no mercy, no give no cup of consolation to drink for the death of their father or their mother. People going to say, I lost my father and my mother too. Why I feel bad for you? It's going to be bad out here. Because the Heavenly Father is going to turn his back on the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that are not trying to return unto him, that don't want to struggle in the wilderness, all right, and be refined and purified in the wilderness because of all of that funk from them 400 years of being captive in the land of Egypt. 400 years of dealing with 15,000 guys and being beat up by Egyptians and can't do nothing about it. Well, you gotta flee the country. You gotta flee Egypt like Moses did. Your own people still fighting each other. Before he fled, the two Israelites was fighting each other. He tried to break that up. They said, "What you gonna do? Kill us like you did the cracker? You gonna kill us like you did the cracker?" All right, just to make it make sense, because it was an Egyptian back then, but the spiritual Egyptians are these Edomites. That's why on the back of the money, there's a pyramid, the Egyptian pyramid. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 8. Thou shalt not also go into the house of feasting to sit with them to eat and to drink. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, the host of what? The host of the angels in the sky. For thus saith the Lord, Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, not the God of ancient Egypt, not the where's the 1,000 gods, not the gods of America. All right, Babylon the Great, not the God of not the God of Ishmael, not the God of the Iranians. All right, the God of the so-called black, Spanish, and Native Americans. All right, and their posterity. And also the children of Israel has been scattered throughout the whole world for thousands of years, because all nations have had us in captivity. So the seed of Israel it was prophesied to Abraham, your seed should be as the sand of the sea, which can't be counted or measured. And as it is written, Ephraim is like a cake unturned. Right? When you bake a cake in the oven and you don't flip it over, the one side is browner and the other side is golden brown. But ain't none of it supposed to be black. Even though crunchy black is black as hell. And let me see. Jeremiah chapter 16. And that was just a joke. Little crunchy black is brown as hell. Jeremiah chapter 16. Verse 9. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I will cause to cease out of this place in your eyes and in your days the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. So what's it going to be? A voice of mourning, a voice of confusion, not mirth. All right, so the days are coming to where it ain't going to be nobody. It could be 4th of July all you want. Ain't nobody going to want to celebrate and pop no firework. It's not going to be a voice of mirth. It's not going to be a voice of gladness. Verse 10, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt show this people all these words, and they shall say unto thee, wherefore have the Lord pronounced all this great evil against us? Or what is our iniquity? They're going to say, what we do? We don't deserve that. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us, right? Or what is our sin that we have committed against the Lord our God? The God we know, you can do whatever you want, right? Thousands of gods, 4 different main gods, and all you, or whatever. America is just straight confusion, complete confusion. Verse 11, Jeremiah 16:11. Then shalt thou say unto them, because your fathers have forsaken me, saith the Lord Yahweh, and have walked after other gods, and have served them, and have worshipped them, and have forsaken me, and have not kept my law. So what did that in turn cause the children to do? The same thing the parents did. Grow up in the same customs, the same traditions, and none of that is pleasing to the Heavenly Father. None of those customs was pleasing to the Heavenly Father. Verse 12, and ye have done worse than your fathers, for behold, ye walk every one after the imagination of his evil heart, that they may not hearken unto me. All right, so especially with technology nowadays, I mean, you think about it. You know, women were putting cucumbers inside of themselves and all types of sexual toys, and same thing with the men. It was all types of ancient sexual. I ain't never go to the sex museum or none of that, but I have seen like programs or shit on TV was like, yo, they was wilding back then, you know. But now you got the mechanical. You got the goddamn. You got the baby torso. It's a lot of weird stuff going on, and people be ordering that you'll see if you work in certain places, and you're just like, whoa, people's ordering this, you know. So people have done worse than their fathers, right? A lot of men, their fathers may have been flaming Cheetos, but they exceeded the temperature, the flaming, whatever color flame it was. They changed the color to the flame, and it's a hotter flame. You know, our people's is through. I know, because you know I was through. Why? Because my father's forsaken the Heavenly Father. So I was raised in a way to where I was through. I was through. So Jeremiah 16:12, and ye have done worse than your fathers, for behold, ye walk, and that's what I did. I did worse than my father. For behold, ye walk every one after the imagination of his evil heart, that they may not hearken unto me. Therefore will I cast you out of this land into a land that ye know not. Right? See, we come into a days that's worse than ever before. So the Heavenly Father cast our ancestors out of that land into a land that we knew not. What was that? America. Right? America. Why? Because it was a new land. It was a new world. That's what they called it, didn't it? When they so-called discovered it. See, Esau Esau will raid your village to discover something. Then he'll say, I discovered this. Right? I discovered this oil and gold in the ground. All I had to do was just raid their village and slaughter everybody. Then I could discover it. That's how Esau that's what he do. He discovers. He discovers. So Jeremiah 16, verse 13. Therefore I will cast you out of this land into a land that ye know not. All right, Esau had to discover it. All right, but our ancestors, the northern kingdom, the 10 tribes, they came over here first. All right, they discovered it first, inhabited it first, and was left here peacefully, as far as, away from Esau, Edom, peacefully for thousands of years. That's why they flourished and covered the whole place, covered the continent. Jeremiah 16 and 13. Therefore will I cast you out of this land into a land that ye knew not, neither ye nor your fathers, and there shall ye serve other gods day and night, where I will not show you favor. That's why you got Jacob, and that's why we've been dealing with a high priest of Satan, because the Lord wasn't showing us no favor. That's why you got Jake right here.
Are you a man or a woman over 40 years old? You can receive an electric bike for your comfort and...
They're intertwined.
Yeah.
That's why you got Jake right there slamming phones. All right? Once he's hearing all of the news of what's going on with his beloved black culture.
Obama's about to make excuses for slaveholders. I bet he won't make excuses for the Nazis. Find out why now.
And I think sometimes we get confused in thinking that these two stories are completely separate. They're intertwined.
Yeah.
Right? And which is why it's possible for me to be a great admirer of George Washington and also acknowledge he was a slaveholder. And
a great admirer of George Washington, says this Hamite. All right, says this Hamite, so-called black president, a Hamite. So, as Jake said, shit, if we can forgive the slave masters, we can forgive Hitler. If the slave masters, all right, they honorable and all that, and hey, But, get back to these scriptures. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse. So, obviously, verse 13, obviously the Lord ain't showing us no favor with your first black president. Says the slave masters was honorable and admirable and great and shouldn't be hanging from a tree. But see, when these slave masters come back on the earth, they're going into slavery. They're going into captivity. When Obama comes back on earth, he's going into captivity. If he survives when Yahushua comes back, he's going into captivity. All right. Trump, captivity. Musk, captivity. Bezos, captivity. All of these Edomites, when they come back on the earth, they're going into captivity. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, Yahweh, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north and from all the lands whither he had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. The land of the north is North America. Verse 16, behold, I will send for many fishers, saith the Lord, and they shall fish them. All right, while I was sleeping today thinking I was going to be around fishers, the fishers were fishing. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. So, all right, so there's no way that you people can hide from the Heavenly Father. All right, because the Heavenly Father has the fishers fishing. The word is going out. People are learning. The Lord is being glorified. And the hunters are going to go out. And the Lord's going to be glorified again. Because the hunters will be of the Lord, sent by the Lord. And with spectacular fashion as the Lord does. Matter of fact, I think I even seen a chariot on the news today when I was on a little news joint. I had to pull it. I got to pull it up on my phone. I kept rewinding on TV like, yo, that's a chariot. All right. Verse 17. For my eyes are upon all their ways. By how? The chariots. The chariots go to and fro. They are not hid from my face, neither is their iniquity hid from my eyes. And first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land. They have filled my inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things. O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things where there is no profit. Right? Because everybody's going to see that the Heavenly Father is the one that's in control, right, of the weather. Whether he allows man to build a machine and activate it, or whether he just does it himself. And then the simple fact that that whole warehouse in LA is 85. Wait a minute, let me get this real quick. Can't make this up.
That does not negate his greatness. It simply acknowledges that there's a profound, deep flaw in these founding fathers who were also geniuses and gave us these tools, and which is true of all of us, right? It's true of every president. It's that we're this mixed bag. We got contradictions, and embody the country's contradictions. And
that ain't.
I kept trying to find something to do a video on. Where is it at? There it is.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Look at that!
Just you.
Baked potatoes and.
We could be looking at one of the greatest ecological, in fact, we could be looking at the greatest ecological disaster in the history of this country. The Potomac sewage leak is going to be trivial compared to what this could be, because that amount of mass, I did the calculations. I said if you took an average American at 180 pounds, it's a particularly unpleasant argument, but you need to try to visualize this. That's 360,000 people worth of meat lying on the ground there. That's 36 Super Bowls, and what are they going to do with it? It's one thing to say you need to have 1,700 semi-trailers to pull this stuff away, but you can't just shovel it into a semi-trailer and shovel it out on the other end. So, Steve, this fire was, once again, Karen Bass is on the job, so there's that. But this is bigger than that. This could be an enormously long-term problem. People are whispering that if you have a house in that area, you might as well just move now.
So one of the first things I thought of, I have smelled, fortunately, just one really rancid steak in my time. I was young and just starting out. I had my first apartment that I could barely afford. I wouldn't have applied for food stamps even if I was eligible, so I ate a lot of baked potatoes and top ramen and whatever else was on sale. And a friend of mine had gone down to the Bay Area. He was actually borrowing my sofa for a few weeks till, he could afford his crappy little apartment too. But he had managed, while he was down this road trip to the Bay Area, to grab a couple of steaks, and he brought them up to me and he said, I didn't have enough ice in the cooler. It was a hot drive. I don't know if the steak is any good or not, so I opened up the cooler, and it was like getting hit in the face by death.
Yeah.
And that was...
There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse.
One steak in an over hot cooler, and you've got 65 million pounds of this stuff to get rid of. The only thing I can think of is stuff, at least, was it cryopacked? Is it in the... No. Oh my God.
And you can't just bulldoze a big hole and dump it in there. I mean, this is in the heart of a residential and commercial area.
And then let's assume, what was it, something like 1,200 semi trucks?
I think you said 1,700.
1,700 semi trucks. Okay, let's say you can load up one or two at a time. I don't even know how you do this. Guys in hazmat suits with snow shovels. I have no idea.
Not only are the trailers ruined, but the cabs are ruined.
Yeah. You get the stuff, let's say you haul it out to the desert and you find a spot in the desert where you can dump it. Well, you're going to have to get off the road somehow, away from the road, because you can't, and you're going to do this with a semi, and you're going to have to somehow make one semi at a time, a 65 million pound pile of rancid meat. The logistics of this, Bill,
this country is through. And I was just going to say, just off this one ecological disaster, this country is through. It's through. But people like, yeah, they want to stay here. But they could stay in and figure out how to get rid of 65 million pounds of meat or whatever that is. Right? And they want to save this place.